Hey everyone, it's Mark. This is my recap for Pokémon Journeys episode 30, Pikachu's Reluctance and Mr. Mime's Exasperation. This was the 1115th episode of the Pokémon anime. This was a bit of a controversial episode as it teased a breakup between Ash and Pikachu before they ultimately made up by the end of the episode. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this one, so let's break it down. Before we get into the highlights, I just wanted to take a second to laugh about something that came out in the past few days. Apparently, an old beta version of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl got leaked online, and the great YouTuber Pokélead dug through it and found a ton of interesting stuff. I'll link their Twitter in the description below, but my favorite part of this leak was the early beta sprites that were used in this version. Some are clearly rough drafts of final sprites, while others are clearly just placeholders and look nothing like the actual designs that we ended up seeing in the final version. I mean, look at this Arceus sprite. Seriously, this is supposed to be Arceus. Anyways, let's crack on with the review. The episode opens with Ash in the middle of a ranked battle with Riolu facing off against an Electabuzz. But did you recognize Ash's opponent? This was one of the gym trainers from the Vermilion City Gym, who appeared in the episode that Ash had his first World Coronation Series match in. Riolu manages to win even though things were starting to look bad, and Ash's rank goes up to 901, and he's pretty pleased with his winning streak. I'm still looking forward to when Ash eventually loses a match in this competition, since in my opinion, the best version of Ash battling is when he has to overcome some adversity, which he hasn't faced yet in this series. Anyways, Pikachu is fired up and makes it known that he wants to battle next, but Ash wants to stick with Riolu, who is equally as fired up. This visibly upsets Pikachu, but Ash doesn't seem to notice. Back at the Cerise lab, Ash is doing more training with Riolu, and Riolu is actually looking pretty strong already. Just a few episodes ago, it could barely overcome Ash's Farfetch'd, but now it's able to defeat it fairly easily, and it wants to keep battling repeatedly. Pikachu continues to get frustrated for not getting the chance to battle, and when Ash scolds him for falling asleep, Pikachu shocks him in return. In a little bit, we're going to talk about how it's out of character for Pikachu to decide to leave Ash, but first, let's stop and talk about this from Ash's side. One of the things Pokemon fans hate the most in the anime is when Ash seemingly regresses as a trainer, and this treatment of Pikachu could be seen as an example of that. Many times over the course of the anime, Ash has had some of his Pokemon get really fired up to battle, and he'd listen to them and give them the chance, even if it seemed kind of like a reckless decision. Likewise, he's also denied Pikachu the chance to battle before, even when he's been fired up to battle. Ash has used different Pokemon instead, which would disappoint Pikachu, but this would only be temporary. The only instance where this really boiled over was in his gym battle against Elisa in the Best Wishes series, which for many fans is their least favorite gym battle ever. While we're on the subject, go check out my video where I rank Ash's 10 worst gym battles and see where this Elisa match ended up. Anyways, I totally agree with the criticism that Ash should be better at listening to his Pokemon at this point, especially Pikachu. My two counterpoints, however, is that like I said, Ash has denied Pikachu the chance to battle before, and he usually gets over it, especially if the team still succeeds. The second point is that I think we're all excited to see Ash and Riolu turn into a powerful duo, and it's pretty clear that Ash is investing a ton of training into Riolu. We haven't actually seen Ash train a single Pokemon this much in a while, so it's cool to see that he's as invested in Riolu as we are. However, this is coming at Pikachu's expense. Okay, let's get back to the episode, and Ash's mom shows up out of nowhere. We get one of her famous home-cooked meals, and all I really want to point out in this scene is Chloe's reaction to Mr. Mime's antics. She clearly has no time for his silliness. Ash and Riolu go off to train again, and Pikachu is clearly down at this point. Chloe correctly points out that this might be jealousy, which was the focus of the last episode with her and Yamper. Ash's mom ends up telling the story of how Ash and Pikachu met, at least from her perspective. More on that later. Pikachu is so fed up with Ash that he decides to sleep in the guest room with Ash's mom, and she sings him a lullaby as they go to sleep. The next day, Ash's mom leaves, and of course Ash has to go train with Riolu again. Pikachu is literally clinging onto his leg at this point, but Ash shakes him off, denying him once again. This was the last straw for Pikachu, and he takes off towards the direction Ash's mom went, and Mime decides to follow him. Okay, now we have to look at this from Pikachu's perspective. Like I said before, Pikachu's gotten frustrated with Ash many times in the past, but he's either gotten over it or gotten through to Ash, but not this time. I thought it was totally uncharacteristic of Pikachu to run away here, but I guess it made sense when Ash was acting as weird as he was, while meanwhile Ash's mom was much nicer to Pikachu. It's also possible that he and Ash just spend too much time together. I mean, I know this is an anime show and not real life, but having space and time apart from one another is essential to any healthy relationship, and I think that includes people in Pokemon. Ash and Pikachu live their lives together, so I guess it's not that surprising to see them get into a fight like this, if you can call this a fight, but we're just not used to seeing stuff like this when they disagree. I'm going to kind of skip over most of Pikachu and Mr. Mime's adventure together. It was entertaining to see, but I'm going to skip to the interesting stuff. They see a hitchhiker get a ride in a moving van, which happens to have a Machoke decal on the side. That's gotta be a reference to the Machoke who help you move into your house in the Hoenn games. Eventually, Pikachu and Mr. Mime get into it with a flock of Spearow, and we get to see the part of the story that Ash's mom left out earlier, which is how Pikachu and Ash finally began to bond with one another. After Mr. Mime gets the Spearow's attention, Pikachu leaps in and thunderbolts them all away, just like he did to save Ash in the first episode. Then, Ho appeared in front of the— oh wait, not this time. Pikachu remembers how this happened with Ash way back when, and he clearly starts to realize how wrong he's been this whole time for running away from Ash. They eventually make it to Pallet Town, but right as they reach Ash's house, Pikachu turns around, wanting to go meet up with Ash back in Vermilion City. However, this was perfect timing, as apparently Ash was waiting for Pikachu at his house. I wonder what the other side of this story was, since eventually Ash had to recognize that Pikachu had run away, and apparently Chloe told him what he was doing wrong, and he must have had the same emotional roller coaster that Pikachu just did, but we didn't get to see it. Anyways, the two of them make up and everyone sits down for dinner, and this episode pretty much confirmed to me that Sobble has definitely joined Reboot in being one of Go's primary Pokemon, since he had it with him this entire episode. I'm just surprised we didn't see Sobble burst into tears at all this time, but I guess that shows he's growing alongside Go. The episode ends when everyone goes to sleep, and Ash starts to sing the same lullaby that his mom sung to Pikachu earlier in the episode, and Pikachu even sings along with him. Apparently, this song is called Goodbye My Pikachu, and this even played during the episode Pikachu's Goodbye in the original series, which was when Ash tried to release Pikachu, so I guess it's fitting that it showed up again here. I'm giving this episode a 7 out of 10 rating. Like I said before, a lot of people didn't like this episode because of Ash and Pikachu acting out of character from what we're used to seeing. I talked about this a lot earlier in the review, so I won't go over that again here. While that did knock the episode down a couple of points for me, I did enjoy Riolu getting stronger, Pikachu and Mime's adventure, as well as Sobble's presence throughout the episode. And even though it was strange that Ash and Pikachu weren't on the same page, the two of them getting back together definitely got me a little emotional. This episode definitely had its flaws, but I still enjoyed it a lot. The next episode looks like complete filler to me, and Ash and Go, and it looks like Chloe as well, are going to be helping out with a Feebas. Sounds thrilling. It seems pretty obvious to me that this episode is just going to lead to the Feebas evolving into Milotic, or maybe they'll swerve us by keeping the Feebas unevolved because they like the way it is now. I don't know, I won't lie, and I'll say I'm not too excited for next week, but sometimes low expectations are the true key to success. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos in the future, and give this video a like if you haven't already. And let me hear your thoughts about this week, as well as your predictions for the next episode in the comments. While you're here, why not click on one of the lovely videos that are on screen right now? I'm sure you'll enjoy them. I'll see you guys next time.